All right, guys, welcome to the first interview, if you will, with some people that are in the industry that I wanted to share some knowledge with you guys and kind of help you a little bit more through your process if you want to start and grow your own video business. So today we've got Josh on here from MediaCore Marketing. Welcome, Josh, to the
Hey
show.
guys, how you
Um,
doing?
Josh is up there in Rochester, Minnesota, and I think we might just start out by saying you're killing it right now compared to where
Thank
you
you.
were when I first talked to you years ago. I think it's how long ago was it when we first met each other?
It's probably been 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So walk people through a little bit, kind of tell them who you are, what you do, and then what your company does.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my name's Josh Langmade. I own MediaCore in Rochester. Um, yeah, we've been running now I think we're just about to hit 2 years. And, MediaCore is a video production company, but we focus on helping companies market. And we're using the power, of video to do that. I think it's hard to just be a freelance video person to really scale a business. You got to start offering that marketing expertise, and then that's what's really going to help you build it. So that's kind of what I want to turn MediaCore into, and I think we'll talk about the future of that and where it can go at some point here. But yeah, that's who I am and that's what I do.
Awesome. Yeah. So how many staff do you have? Because in just 2 years you have employees now, right? Which is pretty cool. So talk about that a little bit, kind of what those roles are and who you hired and why you hired them.
Yeah. So I went full time January a couple years back, and my brother actually joined the company about 6 months in. He graduated with an accounting degree, so he obviously could have went and done that, but he saw what I was doing and the momentum that was picking up. He decided to come on full time. So I had Jake for a while, and then no, about another 6 months we hired. Dakota. He's a second videographer that helps us out shooting and editing, and we have a kid that started as a mentorship for his school. He asked if he could do that. I talked to the school, got everything worked out, so that was pretty cool to be able to mentor a student. And then he ended up kind of coming on as more of like a subcontractor if we need him, because his plan is still to go to college. So we're just like, if we get work and stuff like that, we'll get you on and we'll have you come in. But
Sure.
yeah, employees was a is a whole new thing, and it definitely helps a ton. But it's a ton of work, and there's a lot of stuff you got to figure out. More than just managing people, but all the legal side and everything is just it's crazy.
Yeah, payroll and all the ins and out, the legal
Yep.
stuff. Like you never think about that stuff. Because what type of roles do they play? Do all of them shoot and edit, or do certain people work on like new business and some people edit, or what? How does that breakup work with your crew there?
Yep. So right now, um, I'd say I still shoot a lot. I don't really edit much anymore. I've kind of moved into that sales role of just keep going out in the company or in the community, keep finding work, meeting new people. Jake, my brother, he shoots and edits a lot. I think he's a better editor than I am now, and
We won't let him listen to the
yeah,
pod,
that's right.
to the recording.
Yep. He does a great job doing that, but he also does the accounting. All he does a lot of the back end, the paperwork, the insurance, the all that stuff, which helps the company run, which is a huge help. And then we brought Dakota on to shoot and edit as well. And we're still getting him trained in. He had a little bit of experience before we got him, but we're kind of getting him to where we want him, which is nice.
Awesome. So now you've got a multi-employee business. You're kind of
Yep.
doing some different things here. Kind of take us back a little bit to when you first started. Did you go to college or did you not? And then kind of maybe walk us through how you actually started freelancing
Yeah.
and kind of started your own company.
Yep. So yeah, I was working for a company called KFI Products in small town Spring Valley. I started as a tech there and kind of moved up into more of a media role. I helped build their new website out. I started getting into the photos and the product photos that we'd release. With that, I got them to buy a camera and editing software. So I kind of shot a little bit of video with them and for shows and stuff for social media. And then just in doing so, I didn't go to college for video. Um, I've only done a few semesters out of college before I was like, uh, I don't think I'm going back to school. So yeah, I started working, but KFI was good. I was there for 3 years, and during that time, I did a lot of research on how to shoot and edit, just because I was doing it for the company, and I kind of got paid to get better at that. So I spent a lot of time on YouTube learning, and it YouTube has a ton of stuff on it, and you can learn a ton. But it was one of those things where as I kept doing more research, I kept finding guys that were freelancing and doing it full time. Um, and I started reading a lot of books just about business and entrepreneurship. And after a while, I was just like, I can't keep, you know, putting all my time, heart, and soul into this company that's making somebody else a ton of money, and I'm just getting, whatever, 18 bucks an hour.
Sure.
And you can get your raise every year, but if I wanted to stay there, it would have been fine, but I was just too hungry, for more. And I've always wanted to make more off of how hard I work.
Sure.
That was my big thing. And so I quit. Well, I started MediaCore and I was there for about 3 months, and with the company still. And I was just working on weekends and at night.
Yep.
And I was finding business really off social media. I'd say most of my business at the beginning came from Instagram.
Okay. So you were just cold DMing companies in Rochester, or was it a certain niche, or what? How'd you go about that? Just anybody and everybody. Hey, I'm Josh. Here's what I
Yeah,
do.
yeah, it was interesting. I put a lot of content out there about just marketing and like video,
Mhm.
just tips and stuff like that. So people feel then what you're talking about.
Sure.
Um, but then in that, I kind of knew a few people that had businesses, and I got to shoot commercials for theirs. So I still had work coming in, and I never did video for free. A lot of people say start for free just to get your feet wet and get a portfolio. But I'm like, I can make it cheap, but like I don't feel like it should ever be free.
Sure.
Um,
Did you have people that turned you away when because they're like, oh well, you don't know anything. Like I'm not going to pay you for this. Did you ever have those types of interactions, or did they usually pay up if you brought that up to them?
they usually paid up, yeah.
Okay.
And like I was strategically not going for businesses I didn't think I could work with.
Yep.
Um, so there's the people that I knew, but then a lot of actually the videos was the fitness industry, which I knew, you've done some there too. And I think that's how I found you actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Is
so.
because one of the guys that you shot for was coaching a guy that I was doing video for.
Sure.
Um, and that's how I looked you up. But
Yeah. And
fitness industry it's fun. I mean,
yeah.
it's a cool sport. It's super visual. Um, so yeah, I did that. I did a lot of athletes, and kind of from there, just kept building the page, getting a lot of followers. I would follow a ton of local businesses and just try to interact with their posts.
Hmm.
So not DMing them per se, but just if they see me liking, commenting on their stuff, hopefully they're gonna come take a look at what I do.
Sure.
Um,
And you'd be amazed how much that kind of comes back to you, right? Just
yeah,
being present, like in the room, so to speak, that you're just being there. Because I even had a real estate company reach out yesterday that said they'd found my videos on Instagram, and I'm like, I haven't
yeah,
posted a real estate video in like 2 years probably on my Instagram page, on my Snaadt Media Group page, and they said, oh, well, we found it, and I think
that's
I commented
awesome.
on something once recently, and then they went and dug through all my stuff. So I guess it does pay off if you're still reaching out to people. So
Yeah, and I think it's that mentality of like giving without expecting something back. Like I was never, the guy that's like, I need to have a ton of people following and I'm not going to follow anybody. because that looks cool, or I'm not going to spend any time on other people's content. I'll just post, and they can like my stuff. Like,
Mhm.
I spent time invested in these companies interacting with their stuff, and in that they do see it.
Sure.
um and I think that helped a lot, with just especially at the beginning. I mean, we get a little bit now off social media, and especially like with ads, we get a lot of people emailing us or going to the website and then emailing us.
Mhm.
um but it's definitely changed now from a lot of our stuff from social media to now word of mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you've had kind of a book of business that's continued to come back and
Yep.
they kind of refer you more. Yeah. Cause I think that's kind of the rut a lot of people get in is that they're just hunting for that new stuff.
Yep.
And it's so much easier to get repeat customers if you just treat them well and you can give them really good video and then like get them results and they're going to want to come back. It's just finding the right industries that way. I think that's super interesting because I know with Instagram it's changed a lot too because when you were reaching out to these companies most of the time depending on the size, I'm sure the person that runs the Instagram account probably can still make marketing decisions, right?
Yep.
When you get to
Yep.
these bigger companies, there's more hierarchy and you kind of climb the ladder a little bit. So did you ever run into that where you'd reach out or people would interact with you and it's not really the decision maker or the person that you need to talk to?
I did a little bit. Um, that was really, one of my strategies was like the DM piece, because like really it's the owner or like a high up marketing person
Yep.
for most companies that aren't, super big yet. And where emailing, you're doing info at whatever, and it's like that's gonna get you nowhere. But
Hmm.
I can like directly talk to an owner. So I did a lot of just DMing owners and stuff like that to see if they've ever thought about video or if they've ever need it. um and we've had some that are like, no, no, we're good, but we'll keep you in mind. And you're like, all right, whatever. And but sometimes that does come back, and we've had those come back, and they'll you know that one touch that you did maybe 6 months ago, and then they see your content now and they're like, oh yeah, we should probably do a video.
Sure.
It's all those, everything builds up, and it's that compound effect. All the work that you're putting in now starts to pay off down the road.
Sure, sure. And I think it's interesting too because I've had that happen on LinkedIn where I'll post things and I won't get no one will talk to me for like months, right? And then 6 months goes by and I always call them the LinkedIn lurkers because they're always like looking on the news feed, but they never like or comment anything. They're just watching all the time, right?
Yep.
And I always have that a lot where people will just reach out and like, I've been watching your stuff for like 3 years. I'm like, I've never seen you not even like
Yep.
anything
Yep.
once. And they're like, oh, I just whatever. And it's just, I'm like, oh, at least those people are out there. At least I'm not wasting my time putting all this content out for nothing. Right. So I think that's kind of interesting.
No, I mean that happens a lot. Like people, I had a real estate agent reach out recently. She's like, I've been following you like the last like 2 years. I'm like, I had no idea.
Right. Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too with this community. I know in the past years, a lot of freelancers and just people that run video companies are very like competitive. So they don't talk to the other people and stuff. But a lot of times, I'll get a lot of referrals from other people that just can't shoot something or their schedule's booked up or it's not their type of video. Like one of my best clients that I have is Power Life Yoga, and I've shot 150 plus videos for them, and that
uh,
came from a guy who was a buddy of mine who was a narrative director, and he does very narrative like poetic stuff, and they came to him wanting commercials, and he's like, I don't work with businesses, I work with like nonprofits and artists and stuff. So he knew I did a lot of fitness stuff, hand that off to me, and I have so much to thank for him for that because it's like so much work and connections and just money that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for those types of referrals. So I always find that interesting too, where I think it's kind of the pendulum switching now because a lot of people were fearful to even like talk to other people because they're competitors and they'll steal your work and stuff. But I think kind of build more of a collaborative community helps a lot because and tell me if you've seen anything different up in Roch, but it's probably like there's more work than there is people that can shoot it, right? Because what's the competition like up there for you guys?
I mean, right now there's a probably 3, 4 other companies that do video. Then there's a few freelancers here and there, but a lot of them kind of come and go.
Hmm.
Um, but honestly, like at this moment, I'd say most of our competition is actually like the news stations.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because what we're doing now, we shoot a lot of commercials, um, for either on air or like OTT streaming platforms, stuff like that. So you get these companies that are, with the news, they're already going out and they have whole sales teams that are constantly reaching out to companies,
Hmm.
to see if they want to do on air stuff, but they have their own in-house team. So now you're competing with their whole sales team and then their in-house team that shoots the video and like for a ton of businesses.
Sure.
Um, but I think a lot of people, and this is what we've seen, is that people are starting to understand more of the quality aspect of it and how a lot of the news stations can their commercials look pretty repetitive, or like there's not a lot of time that goes into it because it's just so cheap and they're trying to roll through a lot of them. But yeah, it's been interesting because we've actually been invited to a few of the stations and gotten to tour them and talk to the people and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
there's definitely a lot of room for um, working with other companies. Like we've recently started working with a company called Hello Media,
Hmm.
and they do like social media marketing and social media management, stuff like that, and like branding. I think they're moving into, but a company like that that wants to offer video for their clients on top of their other services, but they don't have someone that can do that. A video company can partner with someone like that and say, hey, we can definitely help refer you guys, but if you want to offer video, we can be the people that provide that.
Absolutely.
um,
I think it's interesting too because you're talking about your biggest competition is the news stations, but if you can go close a client and they need somewhere to run that spot, you're going to give them business too. So it's kind of a weird. It's not
it
like
is.
a cutthroat business, it's just like you
Yep.
guys all. It's all collaborative and it ebbs and flows a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, we've actually, and that's the thing, like the reason they're bringing us into is that collaboration aspect of, hey, you guys work with a ton of people in town, like if they ever want TV or something like that, definitely let us know. And we've been actually referred by them a few times just because some of their clients are like, I want a higher end video. Um, and they've given us business and it just works out. But I think you do have to collaborate with companies, um, because there's a lot of companies in your same industry that just might not you know do video, but they're a marketing agency,
Sure.
you know all that kind of things. And now we're setting those relationships up, so basically they're selling for us now. It helps them, it helps us. We get a lot more work. There's just
Sure.
more people. Yeah, it's cool.
Sure. And I think it's interesting, like when you partner with those vendors, how much they can be an advocate for you because even just in not in the business side, more in weddings. I just had this happen the other day where a buddy of mine was on the construction crew that built this new wedding venue and they're just booking like crazy. And I was over at his house having dinner with him and his dad is dating the owner of this new place. So we're talking weddings and videos and I
Yep.
just recently got married and we had to push our reception to September because of the virus and all this other stuff. So I'm like, I've shot a ton of weddings. I've been to weddings. Let's just talk weddings. So now she was like, hey, do you care if we put you on our preferred vendor list and suggest you because your stuff's so good and we want people to have like a really good video here so the wedding's good and they talk about it and then it's really good marketing material for us. So like, is that okay? Like, of course, yeah, that's fine. Like, send me a bunch of leads that I don't have to work for.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like everybody benefits. So I think even if
Absolutely.
it's in weddings or fitness or business or like whatever it is, if you can find like creative ways to kind of get into the community a little bit too, because I've found a lot of that also from just going to like associations. So I'm
Mhm.
involved in like AMA, American Marketing Association, and Social Media Club, and some of these other like marketing type things where I think a lot of people inbound stuff comes from that too, where it's just you're the video marketing guy. And
Mhm.
if something comes up in that, you're just always the first kind of top of mind person with that too.
Is that kind of like, have you done, like local BNIs?
We have so at my full time gig, we have people. All of our salespeople are in BNI, and they don't. They
Yeah.
all left. They just gave up because everyone's there to sell. No one's there to buy. Like everyone's there to just pitch their services and whatnot. I think depending on what type of companies you're going for, that can work. But for me, I like being around other marketers because usually they're wanting to use video, and then it's just a really natural conversation about how can you use video whether you use me or not. Like how can you use video to make your job better and get a raise and be happy and hit your ROI goals and all that type of stuff. So I don't know, have you done some of the BNI and like the actual local
Oh
like in
yeah.
the trenches networking stuff? Talk a little bit about that because I think a lot of freelancers are probably experiencing that stuff as well.
Yep. Yeah, I've met with a lot of guys that do video that just ask, and it's not a lot of them do it. You know, the BNI is the networking groups, just because one, it can be intimidating. You got a lot of business owners and stuff like that at these places, which you think is a good idea, but it's still that fear aspect of like, well, who am I,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And I felt that at the very beginning, going, but I visited every BNI in Rochester. I visited some like the QBRs. They had master networks. So there's probably like 8 groups of all different professionals that do networking groups. And I've been to all of them. I've met a ton of people, and I've gotten a lot of business from them because there wasn't really any video people going to these. There's
Sure.
no companies that offer video that go. So even if I didn't join, which they all want to sell you on their group, and it's the big referral thing, but I never joined. I always came as a guest. But because I went and I kind of I stood up and gave my spiel, that's always in the back of their mind now when they're like, oh yeah, video, like, oh yeah, we had a video guy come in, you know, and everybody has your cards there. So that actually did get me a lot of business.
Mm-hmm.
And I would recommend, going to those for especially new people that like are just trying to get business. Those are a really good way as well.
Sure. Yeah, and I think it's and just talking with people about how they can use it again, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to network. I have to go and try and sell every person I see. Like, hey, how can you use video? How can you use video? And when I first started doing that stuff, right out of college, I'll admit I did that. And like, I'd go into groups knowing, okay, I want to get X amount of leads. I want, and that you just, it's such a different. You're just very disingenuous, I think, and that was just how I was approaching it because I just see it on people's face. They're like, oh God, get away from me, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting just having a natural conversation like, oh, you're in construction. Cool. I do videos for businesses to help them get more sales. Like, oh, how can we help each other? You know, it's
Mhm.
just kind of interesting how that would play out a little bit. Because what have you seen with like niches? So when you go to these, I mean, yes, it's any business, but who did you when you first started? What types of businesses did you shoot then, and then now? Kind of where have you guys morphed and kind of shoot a lot of stuff now, or is it just kind of a
Mhm.
hodgepodge of everything?
Yeah, it's been interesting. We've always, doing a lot of research and stuff like that. Like the professionals tell you to niche down, to really be successful in like a certain market
Mm-hmm.
and just become really, really good in that market. Um, and I'm sure there's enough industries in Rochester where we probably could niche down in kind of some kind of industry, but I really haven't yet. Um, you know, we have like enough of a portfolio right now, and like literally most industries right now, we probably have a video done. So it's really easy to go and show people like, hey, we've already done this kind of thing, and we still can. I still believe at some point, niching down would be good, but really I'm working with a lot of different companies, and because they're all really trying to do the same thing. They're just in different industries. And like when we come at it as a marketing professional over just, a video production company, then I think then you're just solving problems. You're going in, and at these networking groups and stuff like that, I didn't really come in with, I wanted to meet people, but I was like, I'm not going to go in and like just start pitching people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd grab cards and, I'd talk to people, and I wouldn't really push anything, but I'd get everybody's card, and then I would go and I'd call them and I would try to set up a coffee meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Just grab coffee, learn more about their business. If anything came from it good, like I wasn't going to pitch them. And I think that's honestly been a lot of my sales. Um, I'm not really a big salesy person. I'm not gonna, really push and push. And I read all like the Grant Cardone books, and like all the tactics and like, oh, if they give you this objection, then say this. And I was like,
It's just
you tell,
manipulation, right? You're just
yeah.
manipulating people.
And I just never felt comfortable doing it. And I would rather just, get to know them and honestly help them. And like I felt like I could most of the time. Um, and we've had companies that we turn down. I have a meeting with, they kind of go over their plan of how they're going to utilize the video. I'm like, it's not going to work like that, and we've disagreed. And I'm like, well, I don't want you to waste, your money because you're you're honestly not going to get the results doing it this way.
Mhm.
It's more on how they're distributing it. But that just happens. Like I believe in what we do, and I know that, we can help companies. So I think they see that realness and the relationship side of it, and then they just want to work with you, you know. And if you do a good job, and you just keep up with them and stuff like that, they're going to come back, they're going to refer their friends, and then next thing you know, you've worked, with so many companies that you're now established in that industry.
Sure, sure. So what types of industries are you guys shooting the most of now? Is it
Yeah.
more medium-sized businesses, real estate, car dealerships? Like what do you guys typically shoot a lot of nowadays?
Yeah. So right now, we do a lot of construction. I really like construction, and I'd like to keep pushing construction because it's a fun industry. We do a lot of real estate, commercial and residential. Um, I do it because it's there, not that I, really love it because a lot of it's cookie cutter.
Yep.
The nice thing is if you can get agents to invest in like an agent profile video, talking about them, those are a little more fun to do because, we can get creative with it. We
Mhm.
can cut ads out of the full thing, all kinds of stuff like that. So we've been doing a lot of real estate stuff. We used to do a lot of gyms. We still do. We actually recently did another gym recently, but he hasn't even released the video because COVID stuff hit, and
Yeah,
they're not going to promote it right now anyways.
sure.
Um, Salons, we've done multiple salons. It's it's interesting. Like on our website, we have an our work page that's linked to our YouTube with all of our client videos. And then at the bottom, I kind of put this graphic together with all the logos of companies that we've worked with, and it's just this huge graphic. And
It's like
yeah, and it's nuts, but it's like this like overwhelming like piece that's like a business sees that and they see, okay, that's social proof of if they've worked with this many companies, like they know what they're doing. And like
Mhm,
I want that piece to it. I want them to know, we do know what we're doing.
mhm,
And I've really switched, I think, mindsets of, I don't have to work with people, but so I'm not gonna lower my price and beg for it and anything like that. Which at the beginning, you sometimes you would, negotiate your price if you really wanted to work with them or something like that.
sure.
Not that we'll never do that again. Like if I really want to work with somebody, but it's not fitting in their thing, like yeah,
Yeah,
maybe we can do something. But like it switches to where you know your worth, and if you can portray that you know your worth, they're gonna use you regardless.
sure. I
Because
think I think that's super interesting though, because what when you said you started out, what was like the lowest price you've ever thrown for a video before? Was it like a couple $100 or
yeah, so I did a lot of like fitness videos with just people for
oh,
like
sure.
300 bucks.
Like not for a
Yeah.
company, just for someone's like
Yeah.
Instagram or something. Yeah, yeah,
Yep. I think the cheapest company videos we did were probably 500 bucks
sure,
for like a minute promo kind of thing, no talking, just music and, you know, slow-mo and different shots like that. But,
sure.
and they were cool, but it didn't take a ton of time, which was nice. Um, but now, a lot of our videos, like we're bringing in all of our interview equipment. We're getting all these people talking, and
Mhm,
there's more thought process going into everything. Um, and it's just a lot more work. So now, you charge kind of accordingly.
Sure, sure.
Um,
What's the highest video you've ever bid out before? Even if you didn't get it, like what's the highest price you've ever thrown for a video?
um, like one video or like a set of videos? Like, have you ever done
You
that?
can do a set, yeah. Well, like
Like,
what's the most like you had like crap running down your leg when you sent the email?
yeah. So, I mean, we have one out right now that we haven't got yet, but it's like over $22,000 for like a
Sure,
set. Um, and it's for like 6 videos though, so
sure,
it's,
sure, sure,
probably individual video. Most we've gotten is probably 3 or 4,000 maybe for
sure,
one.
sure,
Um, I think a lot of our videos right now range from about 25 to 3,500.
sure,
Um, just with kind of the workflow and how we like to shoot them and what we think it'll take. Usually that price range it gives them a good idea of what it's going to take. That's like a half day shoot, with editing and then some pre planning
sure.
and script writing stuff. So
Sure. Yeah. I think it's interesting too, because with my full time gig, we bid out 6-figure projects, like massive things. But when you're talking through the value with somebody, it's easier to like sell it if you just understand like what the value is of the client. Cause I think that's a big hurdle that a lot of creatives have a hard time getting over because they're like, I'd never pay $4,000 for just a video, but you don't really understand like the value of it. So when you're talking with clients, like how do you kind of convince them more of the value? Or is it just the production value and all the investment in the gear and the crew, or is it like the results? Like how do you typically spin it to try and get people comfortable with paying a couple grand for a video?
yeah, I've always thought about doing like the whole, you pull out the paper and you see, what's a client worth to you kind of thing. Let's say that client is, worth $1,000. You kind of break that down and do that and say, well, if we get so many clients, then it's worth it. But I've never really had to break that out yet, and dig in. Um, and I think that's also because just how many we've done and how many companies we've worked with, I can kind of like just send them a proposal and a lot of them just like are like, "Yep, that's probably what it means," They haven't done videos and they're like, "Yep, that's probably what it costs. All right, let's pay that."
Right.
But we do kind of break it down by like I usually do my proposals with like pre-production, production day, and then post-production.
Hmm.
And I kind of break down like the pricing there. And I think that also helps. Like when you can break it down to what you're doing in like line items, then they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
They see more of like what's going into it. It's not
Yep.
just pay us this and we'll figure it out. It's a little more
Yep.
detailed. Yeah, because I think it's interesting. Because I've had almost every client that I've ever pitched to and they come back on price right away, like they're almost always the worst clients to work with too. If you haven't
Yeah.
ever noticed that, like
Yep.
the people that are price conscious will just nickel and dime you for everything you have, and they're not really the people you want. It's the people that, like you said, you throw the price, you explain what is in it, and they're like not crapping their pants. They're like, oh, this is okay. That's what it's going to take. Let's do it. It's those
Mhm.
are the types of people that are kind of the lower maintenance, and at least in my experience. So
How do you price your videos?
yeah, so I used to do like day rates and half day rates, and then I just realized I was just kind of shooting myself in the foot because like you said when you first started, if I only work nights and weekends for my shoots, there's only so many days in the week. I can only make so much. So
Mhm.
I started doing value pricing because it was more based on like what the business is going to get from the video. So
Yeah.
I actually saw a post in one of my Facebook groups yesterday where a guy was asking, he's doing an online course for this financial guru dude, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna shoot this whole course. Like I was thinking like $750 because that's my day rate or whatever he said. And I just started like commenting. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, does he have a
Yeah.
following? Like, what's he gonna sell the course for? What's he, does he have an existing audience? Is he gonna try and run ads with it? Like, how much does he think he's gonna make? He's like, well, I didn't ask those questions. I'm like, you should ask him because if this dude's a Tony Robbins type guy that could make $5 million from this course and you're only going to charge him $750 to create something he can sell,
Yep.
uh, that's a lot different in value. So I've been kind of going the longer route with just value based pricing. And I
Mhm.
don't get out the checklist and price out exactly what the ROI would be, but I can kind of give people a ballpark a lot of times because I'm working with people, like you said, that are beginners to video. They don't know. So I kind of walk them through that. And then a lot of times I can have a base price for just the video, but then I can also do the distribution. So I can
Mhm.
basically like double my price by saying, okay, I can shoot and produce the video for you, but that's not what you need. What you need is a sales tool to get you these results. So to do that, we'll just basically double it and I'll run the ads for you. I can design this whole like marketing funnel for you because that's what I nerd out about is like the
Oh
marketing
yeah.
side and using it as a tool as the hinge to kind of get people to buy or to opt into something. So I think that's more the conversation I typically have with my clients and my prospects. Sometimes it scares them because they're like, this sounds way too complicated, but I try and make it really simple sounding. But a
Mhm.
lot of people just want packages, which I keep hearing, which I don't do anything except for like weddings because weddings are super cookie cutter. Like I try to do everything custom pricing, but weddings I get probably like 10 inquiries a week and I'm just like, here's where the base price is and I'll add travel and if you want something special, like we'll just up it a little bit, but it's
What are
typically
your wedding prices?
yeah, so I don't do them for less than 2 grand anymore. I used to. I did them like when I first started out. I got lucky. My first one was an out of town person, and I got referred. And I never shot a wedding video before, and I got $1,000 out of it surprisingly because I was like super scared. And they're like, "Oh, that's fine." The other ones we're looking at were like 3 to 4 grand. I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I don't usually market my wedding videos, but I have a ton of people inbound that come from it. And then my wife is also a hairstylist, so when people are getting married or getting their hair done for the weddings, that'll come up in conversation. So I'll get a lot of like organic stuff just from her
Mhm.
mentioning me and stuff like that. But yeah, I typically do them starting at like 2 grand, and then the most I've ever done one for was I think like 3,000 because I had to travel a little bit for it. But I
Mhm.
just shoot it by myself. And when I first started doing weddings, it was you shoot all day and then it'd take like 40 to 60 hours to edit it. And now
Mhm.
now I'm getting that time down to like about 20 hours or less because I kind of have a flow that I like and I kind of a flow of the events that I typically kind of stay within. But yeah, they're definitely, I'm trying to not be cookie cutter and keep them unique. But again,
Mhm.
like you said, you do enough real estate or you do enough weddings, they all start kind of looking the same after a while. So
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, we do. We've done two wedding videos, and just by learning how much work goes into those, we just put package prices together. I think they go from like 2,500 to like 4,000 or something.
sure. And if
Yeah.
you don't want to do them, just keep pricing them higher until like you just get weed out most of the people. So yeah,
Yeah. Like luckily, like the two that we did, one was at, this beautiful, the Mayowood Stone Barn kind of place. And it was just so that looks super good. And then the other one was like Okoboji, Iowa.
sure.
And like it was a beach wedding. So like
Sure.
we have these two videos right now that are just amazing. And it's like, yeah, I'll just price them high. And if we get them, like I'll do them. But
Sure.
that's not going to be like the focus kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, and like so for my wedding, we were supposed to get married in Florida like 2 weeks ago, and we hired a guy in Nashville. He's one of these like nationally acclaimed guys, like super high end. And his starting price was like 6 grand for his stuff,
Yeah.
and that was
Yep.
like only 4 hours of coverage. And I'm like, we're gonna have to talk about this a little bit because like, what wedding is 4 hours? Like,
Yep.
come on, people, like this is just silly. So thankfully for their virus and everything, he's going to fly to Iowa and not charge us for it. He's just going to take it out of his profit, which is fine. But I feel like, especially with weddings, that's kind of the one industry that you either love it or you hate it,
Hmm.
and you get to a point where you cap yourself on income. Like you kind of make as much as you can make with a wedding, and then you either do way less of them and charge a ton more, or you just do a ton of volume and you never have a weekend to yourself ever. So I think it's kind of interesting how that plays out. But I think a lot of people kind of find that out where they'll get into a niche and they'll kind of go deep, but unless you're in like businesses, you really kind of cap your income potential. I guess that's kind of what my assumption would be, right? Or have you seen anything different besides that?
No, I would agree with that. I mean, the wedding people, it seems like you either cap yourself out or you keep adding people to your team,
Hmm.
and eventually maybe you're not doing the weddings and you have people doing the weddings. Um, but I think like and that's where I don't want to focus on like weddings or real estate. I want to focus on businesses because that's where I see, the most growth, the most potential. Um, and it's just one of those things where like you keep just grinding, working hard, building connections with a lot of people, um, and you're just going to keep going up from there.
Hmm.
It's just you just keep doing the right things long enough to where you're just going to keep going up. You're going to keep building a team if that's what you want to do. Um, the thing that we're getting into as well is like you said, was the ad side of it. And I think that's another big moneymaker, big add-on that you can provide to people, because we always tell people, like, what's the point of doing this expensive video if no one's seeing it? You know, like, you're trying to get these results, so let's help, run the ads and cut those so people are actually seeing it, so you're getting results.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because yeah, if you're making your clients money and they're happy and you do a good job, they're gonna keep using you and they're gonna refer you. You know.
Sure, sure. And I think it's interesting because the TV stations, they provide the distribution, but they have terrible creative, right? Where you could provide amazing creative, but then it's like, again, it's that missing puzzle piece. Because I know a lot of times with content I'll put out, like in my course or on my Facebook groups and stuff, I talk about that, and so many creatives never even think about that, like learning how to run ads for their clients. It's such a no-brainer. It's like, here's this awesome thing, here's where they want to be, you can do the in-between piece, do the entire thing, and then just streamline it. But I think a lot of people want packages, and they feel like, for whatever reason, just the people I've been talking with, they feel like that's the security, like, oh, it's like I'm shopping on a shelf, but everything's so customized anymore.
Mm.
It's more custom pricing for things in that way. So
Yeah, the ads are a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot more about those.
sure.
Um, we do you ever run YouTube ads?
I have for work, yeah. So pre-roll,
Okay.
those are interesting to script because you have like 5 seconds to hook them before the skip button. So you're trying to
Mhm.
get something hooky that can get their attention, and then you don't pay for the ad unless they watch to 30 seconds or further. So you have to like script it in a way that it'll hook their attention, get them to watch for 30 seconds, and then if they're not a qualified buyer, get them off the video so you don't have to pay for it.
Yep.
And then you can just ramble on for like 5 more minutes because they're watching and they're invested in it. It's like super interesting compared to like other stuff where you just script it however you'd want to script it. Because I've run those for like an ag client, so an ag data client. So we had to hook people that were, but it's so interesting with YouTube because you can target based on what they're looking for. Because I've
Mhm.
had that happen before where I've gotten a targeted pre-roll ad that I
Oh,
thought was the
tons.
video I was looking at,
Yeah, I get
and then I'm
tons of
like,
those.
oh crap, I'm like 3 minutes into this. This isn't even the thumbnail I clicked.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just forgot because it was so targeted. So that's kind of the fun thing with pre-roll. What's been your guys' experience with that?
Yeah, I like YouTube almost more than Facebook now,
Okay.
just with, everything that you can do with it and the retargeting is huge, obviously. So after collecting all that data, or, running carousel ads, if they watch like this one, then hit them with the next one that's like, hey, like, you watch this video, like, what's going on?
You're right.
I got hit with like a Billie Jean one like that. And I was like,
Sure.
dude, nice.
Sure.
He's like, yeah, I saw you watch my whole thing. I spent money on that, but you didn't click the website. I'm like, dude, what? Um, so that stuff just interests me a ton.
Sure.
Uh, because if you know how to do the ins and outs of that, I mean, you can get serious results for any company.
Sure. Well, and
Uh,
YouTube SEO in general, I've been super nerding out about that like the last 3 years, just because I saw all these people like Sean Cannell, Sonny Lenarduzzi, all these other people that were just killing it because they just knew how to play the algorithm and get found in search organically and just
yep.
kind of drive in results. Because that's like my channel. I think it's only got 4,000 subscribers, but I get like 40,000 new people a month that watch my videos that just come
Oh,
in organically from like my GoPro photography video that has like 160,000 views, like all these
nice.
different videos that are ranked for certain topics, which I researched a ton to now drive organic stuff. But it's also interesting, like on the paid side, because like you said, with a client, they're not going to have a YouTube channel established. Like very few even understand how to use YouTube besides just dumping all their videos on it. They don't understand it's like people can find your stuff, and if you answer their questions or help them or kind of provide some value, that they can track you down that way. So
I think this is like the key of how video will continue to happen. I was listening to a Dan Lenny podcast. You heard of him?
I've not, no.
You should check him out. He has a really good podcast on Spotify. But he was talking to a gal, and they're going over, how good cameras are getting, how cheap they're becoming. For pretty good cameras, you can get it pretty cheap,
Hmm.
and you're getting these everybody that wants to own their own company, so they're going to start doing that. But they said the way to really stand out then is becoming more of a marketing company instead of just a video production company
For sure.
or a freelancer kind of thing,
For sure.
you know?
Yeah, I think it's interesting too. I was listening to the MFCEO project with Andy Frisella, and this was like episode like 20, like way long ago. They've even scrapped the podcast now. They're doing a new thing. But
Yeah, they
one of them,
are.
he was talking with Tyler, their creative director for First Form, and they were talking about different topics, and he said, "There's all these new kids with cameras that are coming in as freelancers and stuff." He's like, "I challenge somebody to train like create like a camera person university, train them, teach them how to run ads, teach them how to shoot video, and then disperse them to like companies and kind of like place them that way, and that'd be like a multi-billion-dollar business." So I'm still working on that. How do you create like a marketing video expert academy and then put them in companies so they can make a big difference? Because I think people are starting to realize like how powerful video is. Like I was just talking with a data scientist yesterday, and they do a ton of pixel targeting and all this other stuff. And he's saying, the video ads do 3 times better statistically. Like they'll get 3 times the conversions, 3 times the clicks, 3 times the buys, and it's the same cost to run the ads. But he was saying, he's like, none of us know how to shoot or edit, and we don't, we're not very good at it, so we don't do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's just so silly. Like we have such a valuable skill by knowing how to shoot and edit video. It's just kind of like a no brainer to add that value to people. So
Yeah, the other thing that you do is you have that course that, I've wanted to do a course, and, I really think that's awesome that you have that, but,
yeah, it's so much more work than I thought it was. I mean, I've been doing that for like, God, like 2 years. The first year,
yeah.
I hardly had any sales, and I spent like 4 days in my basement recording like 20 videos of myself talking, so I couldn't even talk at the end. I'm like, go to
Mm.
the website for this thing because I just talking to myself, and yeah, and then I'd invest in another course to learn about how to sell my course
Yeah,
better, and
yeah.
that did help a lot just because you start to understand like people buy the transformation, they don't buy the lessons. It's that type of stuff. It's just so different. And if you can learn and understand what your target market wants, like the end result, then you can just sell that basically. And if you've done that and you can demonstrate it, then people want it. So like if people wanted to start a multi-person agency or video production marketing company, then you could say, here, well, I'll teach you exactly how we did it step by step. And then people like, there's some credibility there. I think there's a lot of the internet imposters that are, I'll teach you how to start a social media marketing agency, like Ty Lopez type stuff that kind of put a bad name on it. But I think the industry is supposed to grow 3 times in the next 5 years. So it's supposed to be like a $300 billion industry, like online education. So
Mhm.
it'll be interesting. I think people are going to realize, like, why should I go to college and spend all this money to get
Yep.
general knowledge when I could learn from somebody that's doing what I want to do, and they can teach me exactly how they did it so I can do it too. So I think that'll
Mhm.
be super interesting. But no, I had somebody actually offered to buy my course, like another competitor. They wanted to buy it and absorb it into theirs. And I was like, I don't know about that. Like we're kind of just scratching the surface here. So
Uh, do you have videos, like, where you actually go on site and kinda, like, talk through what you're doing then?
yeah, there's a couple like virtual job shadows. I don't do a ton of them though, because a lot of the stuff I teach is more the business side. It's
Yep,
not the technical, like how to shoot, what lighting and all that stuff. It's more how to set up software, how to do email marketing, how to get your website portfolio built, how to do your taxes, like kind of not really the boring stuff, but more the ins and outs of the business side. Because a lot of people have those questions. And then there's like a whole thing about sales, because like we were talking about value-based pricing, or if you're doing
mhm,
price per hour, like hourly rate, because a lot of people they're really used to one and they don't want to try another different pricing strategy, so they just go with like one. So kind
mhm.
of interesting that way. But now it's been a super cool experience too, because there's like students in it from the Netherlands to Brazil to Mexico. It's just kind of cool. Like it's kind of an all over the world type thing. So
Oh, that's sweet.
yeah, awesome. So, okay, I've been putting this question off for a while. I want to hear what your vision is for your company. What, like, in the next 5 years, where you'd like to be, what you kind of see, what you want to be. Because I think this is the really powerful thing about what you're doing, is that you're really manifesting your vision for what you want to do. You're not just like shooting because it's what you like to do, and you have a vision for what you want to do. So maybe fill some people in on that a little bit. What you envision for your company.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, with MediaCore, you know, I wanted to obviously continue to grow, and I think I think to keep doing that, we have to, expand into different areas. Um, it's like one of those things where like we can only do so much in Rochester before we kind of get capped out with businesses or, just whatever it is. Like, so that's kind of the goal, is to create this team here that knows like what they're doing, and can kind of self-sustain to then create, the next media core in, you know, South Dakota, or, wherever like that, where you go, where it's still a big enough area, but it's not too saturated. But we can plug in the same things that we know that have worked here, and plug it in there.
Hmm.
Obviously things would be a little bit different, but there's really a lot of fundamentals that are going to be the same. And it's almost like, yeah, we're coming into a new spot, but we have the work to show, you know, businesses. So I don't think it would be necessarily as hard to do it again. It's obviously going to be a lot of work, but I think the way to really grow is to have, multiple locations. Um, but to do that, we're creating a lot of processes right now.
Hmm.
Um, just a lot of back end work, and it's it's difficult to take everything that and put it down on paper,
Hmm.
um, to kind of teach the next person that can be doing that. But we really are trying to build the business as a scalable model, and not just, hey, let's make some quick cash kind of thing.
Hmm.
And I think that really changed from year one to year two. Year one, we're just like, we got to get a lot of money. We got to start making money.
Yep.
Um, and just with like the people and the equipment and the office that we have now and stuff like that, like it feels so much more established. Um, and now we're taking that next step to like start documenting everything, put processes in place for employees. The business side, I think one of the hardest things, um, it's not finding clients, it's not finding money. It's really easy to go out and make money. Um, the business side is what's hard. It's the taxes, it's the legal. We
Hmm.
switched to an S corp, this year, and that alone has like its own, issues and stuff like that.
Sure.
I think that's where people don't understand really what goes into business and what goes into video, um, because you can't just grab a camera and start, shooting. And you can, but it's not going to last, and you're not doing it legally. um, but just there, yeah, all the work that kind of goes into actually running a company, has been the challenging part, but also fun to learn it, kind of thing.
Sure. So you
um,
said you said you did a lot of like reading when you first started out. What's been like the biggest resource for you in getting more of the business knowledge and kind of that confidence to like be a manager, because you're gonna have to like you're like managing people now. You're not really, I mean, you're still shooting, but that's a big part of what you do. So what was kind of a good resource or a way that you leaned into some information so you can get through that and become kind of a resource for your guys?
yeah, so I mean, I'm a big believer of hiring people that know what they're doing. So like, we have a good tax guy that I can ask all questions about. We got a good lawyer that I can go to and ask questions to about that kind of stuff, or contracts and employee stuff and non-competes. Um, and the insurance guy has helped us a ton. And then I kind of have like a business mentor. He's not like official mentor, but he's been very successful, and he's only a few years older than I am. So it's been cool to seek advice from him. I read a lot of books, but most of those are based on more sales and marketing and stuff like that, not
Sure.
as much the business side. And that's kind of where Jake, my brother, has come in, and used his knowledge and his degree, um, and does a ton of back end stuff that I don't even know about.
Hmm.
Um, and that's been a huge help too, having someone that kind of knows what they're doing there. But really, really trusting in the people that do their job professionally, and asking them advice on everything.
Sure.
But I've also thought about recently, um, kind of investing in a business coach. I don't know if you've done that yet.
I'm
You know,
not. No, I think, and it just depends. Like, I would say try and find somebody that's done kind of what you want to do. Because when you're explaining your model that you want to grow out, like you could franchise that. You could here start up in Omaha, Nebraska, and here's the book. Basically, we'll take a percentage of your profits. We'll
yep.
help you kind of get started and kind of do it that way because it's super interesting. There's different ways you can go about it, but of course, like if you've never started a franchise, you don't know how to do that, or if you want to open up multiple locations, you don't know how to do that. So it's like you gotta find resources to do that. I think
Yep.
the ones that I found a lot of are just like listening to podcasts of other people that have similar businesses to mine or that they've reached a certain level of success. So for me, in my freelance business, like my end all is not to have a whole team of people and just shoot a bunch of freelance work for businesses.
Mhm.
Mine is to build kind of a online community, kind of start doing like speaking and kind of have like this information business that's like more educational and helps a lot of people because I get a lot of fulfillment from that. Just like seeing other creators like create
Mhm.
bigger and better businesses than mine that I can like help and kind of be like, hey, I helped them do that. Like that's super cool, you know?
Yep.
So like I like doing that a lot. So kind of my vision for mine is more growing kind of my personal brand to the point that it would make more than I would if I was just shooting. And then if I do have a team, I can have them shoot content for my personal brand, but also as a freelancer for clients, and then kind of do the whole marketing agency stuff while shooting and editing, but then also running ads and then kind of running my own brand as well too. So it's kind of different. And that's the thing is I don't see a lot
Yeah.
of like I don't have anybody that I've seen that does that. So I'm just like looking everywhere. I'm like, is there anybody that's done this before me? So
The personal brand thing, that's another thing that we're going to try to focus more on. I see so much value in like having a big personal brand,
mhm.
having a following on social media or, YouTube, um, wherever it is, because you can really monetize that
Oh
pretty
yeah.
well.
Yeah. And for me, that's been super helpful just because, especially with coronavirus, like I've only had 2 freelance projects in the last 2 months, but I'm
Yeah.
still making decent money just from YouTube and the course and I had my first sponsored video the other day. So I had like a company pay me to make a video for them, like stuff like that, that just like you put in the time for a year or two in the beginning when no one cares about it. And then once you have people that listen to you and care about you, you have this influence and you can definitely make money from it, whether it's monetizing with the courses or if you're doing like products or LUTs are really huge right now and presets and stuff for like creators that want to buy the looks for certain things. So it's super interesting, like kind of how that all works. But I've also had like freelance work come from that too. Like I put a video up on my YouTube channel about a Kickstarter video that I shot for a client, and a guy in Lebanon called me and he said, hey, I'm shooting a Kickstarter video. I want to hire you to like script it because the one you did was like amazing and it got a bunch of sales. So like I want that too. So it's like
Mhm.
you just never know the ripple effects of stuff, you know? And I've been interviewed by like a real estate website about real estate videography because I made like 2 videos about it. And then of course they ranked in search. So now they have like
Yeah.
50,000 views or whatever. It's just like, you just never know like what can happen if you just kind of like put information out and just try and be a resource for people too. So,
Mhm.
but no, man, that's super exciting. Like I love hearing your vision for it because I can see it already. And um, it'd be kind of cool. I will say Des Moines is a very oversaturated market, so don't come here.
That's right.
But no, I think do really well, especially just kind of branching out in the Midwest, going different places and stuff. That'd be super cool. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
okay, so we're kind of coming up on time here. I want to be mindful of your
Yes.
time. Last question is, if there's a videographer that's a freelancer now, it's just them. What business advice would you have for them to get to the point where you're at? Maybe they want to have employees. Maybe they want to grow bigger. They want to do it bigger and better. What's some advice you'd have for them for starting their business?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we get asked, I get reached out to quite a bit, just by, doing this kind of thing, and that's why I kind of want to have a video that talks about it, like that first step. But there's so many things that you can do. Really, I think the thing that really pushed me, um, to move and to go, was that mentor that I talked about said, "Give me a date where you're going to quit, your full time job." And at that time, I wasn't like comfortable, like, oh, I'm going to quit and my salary is going to stay the same and this or that. I was making like nothing still.
Sure.
You know, but I didn't have to make a lot, which, was also nice. But when I took that jump and just like the drive that you have to succeed, I think really, really helps you do things that you're normally not comfortable doing. Um, and I think people need that push. I was talking to a guy even this today. And he's like, how'd you get started and stuff like this? Like, I'm working, but I want to do this. Um, and when you always have that cushion of like money, you never really jump in, both feet and just go for it.
Mhm.
So that's like one of my first things. I'm like, you got to go all in if you're gonna do it, and you got to decide that you're gonna do it. Um, you gotta know that you're gonna give up, a lot of your time. I wasn't going out to the bars with my buddies and stuff like that. And not that you can't ever go have fun and stuff, but it's gonna take some serious time and a lot of work. That you're gonna have to dedicate to it if you want it to really become a thing. Um, and then the other thing would be do things that scare you. And I still don't do enough of that. But every time that I get an opportunity to do something that scares me, I'm like the first thing that goes through your head is like, no, that's all right. No, I don't wanna speak here. I don't want to do this and that. But those are the things that in the back of your head that are gonna really propel you forward. Um, so I think doing the things that scare you, and it's about people. I wouldn't be this, where we at with MediaCore right now if we didn't have good relationships with so many people. So I really take the time to invest in our clients and build that relationship up. That's right.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Josh, for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Kind of just sharing a little bit more about you guys. Where can people find you?
Look us up on Instagram at MediaCore, or our website is MediaCoreMarketing.com. Check out either of those, and Facebook. Everything's linked. It's all MediaCore.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll make sure to throw that in the video description as well.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Josh. And
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
absolutely. We'll talk to you later.
Yes.
Bye
Talk
bye.
to you later on.